You ever wake up thinking you finally outran your past, then find out the wilderness you picked for peace just turned into the front line for a war you never signed up for? Yeah, that's how my week started. You want a hook? Try this. I moved to the middle of nowhere, bought myself 320 acres of Appalachian forest, so thick you could lose a year out there and still, somebody managed to drag me right back into the fight. It started on a November morning, so cold my coffee was freezing in the mug if I took too long to drink it. 3 years I've been tucked away out here, living on savings from 2 decades running around as a special forces marksman. I thought distance and trees could keep the world out. Turns out, all I needed was for 3 trail cameras to go dark vanished, like they'd never existed. I checked my security grid, saw camera 7 blinking red, and right away my gut said, that's not nature, that's people. Let me back up a sec because nothing out here is supposed to go missing. The only thing that comes and goes is the fog, the deer, and maybe a black bear that thinks my compost pile is a buffet. But cameras? Those are my eyes. Losing one isn't normal, not even with all the snow, wind, and nosy raccoons. So I grab my Gear GPS, thermals, my Leica with a long lens, and yeah, a rifle I never wanted to use again and head up the ridge to where Camera 7 was keeping watch over the border with state land. Took me an hour and a half to get up there. Not because I'm slow, but because when you've lived through enough, you learn to listen to the woods. The quiet tells you things. And right there on the trail, I found tire tracks. Fresh, deep, big tread off-roaders for sure. Not joyriders. Somebody who knew exactly what they were doing. And then I found footprints 3 guys, all big, all leaving nothing but the prints. The kind of quiet professionals who know how to disappear. Quarter mile past my line, I caught a whiff of something dead, and not just dead mixed with chemicals. Antiseptic, the sort of smell that says, hey, don't go poking around. Of course I poked around. There in a clearing, the grass was flattened, earth was stained, and right on the edgy a white feather, dark at the tip. Young one. If you don't know, you don't touch that, feds will knock your door down for killing one. They knew exactly what they were after. They took what they wanted, erased the cameras, and left nothing but a trail for anyone crazy enough to follow. Which apparently was me. As I'm standing there, trying to figure out what to do next, I hear an engine off in the distance. Faint. Someone else moving deeper into the state land. I mark it on my GPS and head back, brain running a checklist threat level, resources, next steps. Old habits. I should have just called Fish and Wildlife, let them deal with it. But what I'd seen is skill. The planning told me this wasn't some weekend poacher with a pickup and too much whiskey. These were operators. And if you come at operators half-cocked, they vanish. So I didn't call. I watched. Walking home, I realized 3 years of solitude had changed me. Not softened my hell, maybe the opposite. I care about these woods. I'd watched the bear cubs, the deer, the owls, the slow return of life after a century of logging. This land had healed, and now somebody was ripping it apart because they thought no one was watching. They were wrong. Back at the cabin, I reviewed photos, tire tracks, prints, blood, the feather. It all pointed to something big. Not just some idiot with a gun, but an operation. Next day, I replaced the cameras, but this time I went full spook. 15 feet up, hidden in hollowed-out logs. Angles you'd never think to check. The new cameras watched the approaches, not the trails. I took out my drone, programmed it for silent flights, infrared on. Packed thermals, rations, left the gun locked up, reminded myself I was here to watch, not fight. It was almost fun, in a twisted way felt like old times, minus the sand and mortars. Up at the ridge, the same tracks had multiplied now. There was a clear path, vehicles coming and going. I smelled wood smoke, diesel blood. Found a granite perch with a view. That's where I spotted the camp military surplus tents, trucks, generator muffled under foam. Not some random deer camp. This was pro, ready to move in a heartbeat. Then I saw what they were doing. Processing wildlife. Bear bile. eagle feathers, deer parts, the kind of stuff that sells for thousands overseas. I stayed for hours snapping shots, recording faces: big guy with a gray beard and a scar, younger guy with a tattoo, both armed. Heard them talking. Shipment goes out Thursday. Buyer wants both bear and deer. Then a warning: stay off private land. That guy up on the ridge has cameras. The other laughed: had cameras. It clicked. This wasn't poaching. This was trafficking, organized, international, with quotas and buyers. The name Yuri got tossed around. I sent up the drone, mapped the area, found a second camp with a fridge unit and crates marked in Chinese. A few miles north, I saw a road perfect for moving product logging trucks all day. Nobody notices one more. By sundown, I had enough for a federal case, but if I went to the law, these guys would scatter. So I kept watching, went deeper. Put a tracker on one of their trucks. Old tricks never die. Followed them to a property owned by a shell company, Cascade Timber. 200 acres, bought cash, no neighbors. There, they had a real facility, metal building, coolers, climate control. 8 people, round-the-clock shifts. Shipments left in white box trucks, headed for Baltimore. I followed one all the way, watched it slip into a warehouse near the Port Legit business front. 2 hours later, the tracker went dead. They'd found it, but I'd already seen what I needed. Now, you might ask, why keep pushing? Because I couldn't let these people strip my mountains and just pack up for Montana or Oregon. I needed to take down the whole network, not just a couple foot soldiers. I called in a favor Bryn Ashford, ex-FBI, wildlife trafficking specialist. Told her what I had. She listened, understood, said the only way to win was to document everything and wait. It was a legal gray area citizen surveillance, no warrants, but enough evidence and the feds would move. 4 days later, I had the big fish Nadia Orlova, Russian national, Seattle resident, queen of shell companies, rich for no good reason. She owned the land, moved the money, called the shots. I gave the feds the paper trail, bank transfers, lawsuits, offshore accounts. The agent, Morrison, took one look and said, "We can build RICO charges on this." For the first time, I thought maybe I'd win. That's when the pressure started. Cars parked on my access road, drivers watching the cabin. My routine got tracked, my cameras swept by pros. They wanted to see if I'd blink first. I doubled up security, watched them right back. The message was clear: we can get to you whenever we want. But I wasn't moving. 3 days later, it escalated. Midnight, 3 men circled my house. Another guy walked up and tried the "let's be reasonable" routine. 20 grand to keep quiet. I told them flat out, take your money and get off my mountain. Didn't even bother being polite. That's when it got real. They left, regrouped, and came back 2 nights later. 6 men, tactical gear, weapons, radios. This wasn't a warning. It was an assault. But I'd prep a defensive position on the ridge, cameras rolling, smoke grenades set, rifle loaded with rubber rounds. When they broke in, I gave a warning over the speakers. They answered with gunfire right where I'd planted the decoys. I dropped their main vehicle, hit 2 of them with rubber rounds, filled the clearing with smoke. Disabled 2 more as they tried to flank me. The last pair dragged their injured out. No deaths. No heroics. Just enough force to show I wasn't playing. Every second caught on camera, every move documented. Come sunrise, the place looked like a war zone. Broken door, bullet holes, busted speakers, but I was still standing. Called Morrison, told him what happened. He said, "Now we move." State police, FBI, fish and wildlife. Even the DEA rolled in. Raids went down the next morning. 2 forest camps, the facility, the warehouse, houses in Seattle. They got everyone. No one slipped away, no evidence destroyed. Big boss lady, Nadia, arrested without a fight. Her people tried to paint me as a vigilante, but the truth was too clean. Armed men broke into my home. I defended myself with non-lethal force. Videos, logs, every step backed by evidence. Case closed. In court, plea deals started rolling. Organization unraveled. $8 million a year, now gone seized, split for restitution and conservation. The ecosystem bounced back faster than I thought possible. Bears, deer, even the eagles back in the sky, doing what they're supposed to do. Bryn came by one afternoon, looked me in the eye, and said, most folks would have called the sheriff and hoped for the best. You built a case, survived a hit, and stood your ground. She asked if I'd go back to my old, quiet life now. I told her that life's gone. Once you know, you can't unknow. I'm working with the state now, teaching rangers how to watch, how to document. I'll keep fighting, just in a different way. 6 months later, I'm still here. The cameras now track wildlife, not trespassers. I get texts from Morrison cases in Montana, Oregon, more places that need watching. You'd think I'd say no, but the answer is yes. I learned the hard way that real peace isn't hiding out. It's standing up when the easy thing would be to look away. So, let me leave you with this. Would you have the guts to face down armed criminals when walking away meant nobody would ever know? Sometimes, justice isn't about revenge. It's about restoring what's been lost, protecting what's still here, and making sure the next time someone tries to take what doesn't belong to them, they find out there's always someone willing to stand in their way. If you've ever had to make that cahier, if you just believe that ordinary people can make a difference, drop your thoughts below. Justice only works when folks are willing to speak up, stand up, and do what's right, no matter the cost. 2.